Good afternoon and welcome to our show, Harlem Sculpture Gardens. This is your host, Savannah Bailey McLean. And joining me today in the studio is Eizabeth Massella and Jiyoung Lee. Eizabeth Massella is the temporary public art coordinator for City Parks. And we have Jiyoung Lee, who is the gallery director for AHL Foundation. So thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, with Eizabeth, rather, I should say she's the senior public art coordinator at City Park. She's had an extensive career where she has placed public art, both traditional and non-traditional art, throughout all 5 boroughs in the city of New York. And you've been doing this since 2016, correct?
Yeah, about 7.5 years now.
That's a long time.
It is. Sometimes it feels like 1 year, sometimes it feels like 20. But there's always plenty of public art going around to keep me busy.
All right, so why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about public art in New York City?
Yeah, so we have a pretty long history of specifically public art in NYC parks. The Art in the Parks program started in 1967.
Wow.
So we're coming up on our 60th year in a few years. But the program began, when the Department of Cultural Affairs at one time was a part of the Parks Department.
Mm-hmm.
The founder of the program is named Doris Friedman. And there's actually a plaza named for her in Central Park, where we have a longstanding public art program. But since then, we've programmed probably maybe even more than 3,000 public artworks by 1,500 notable and emerging artists, more than 200 parks citywide. Together, the temporary public art, together with our permanent collection, we kind of consider ourselves New York City's greatest public gallery and maybe one of the best in the whole world.
Yes, I would agree.
Wow.
But I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a pretty extensive program. But yeah, every year we do about 60 to 80 projects.
All right, that is really, quite amazing. And Jiyoung, she is the gallery director, program director as well for AHL Foundation. And why don't you tell us a little bit about AHL Foundation?
Sure. AHL Foundation is not-for-profit art organization established in 2003 by immigrant and art patron Sook Nyu Lee Kim to support artists of Korean heritage in the United States. Now we are located in Harlem. We moved to Harlem last year. We are proudly located on Frederick Douglass Boulevard. Mm-hmm. And we seek to accomplish its mission by promoting the work of emerging artists of Korean descent active in the United States throughout exhibitions, informing and educating artists on the business side of the art practice, and building community of supporters and art enthusiasts.
Okay, so that's the textbook understanding of the organization. I like to be lighthearted, but tell us, how did you start with AHL Foundation?
So I moved to New York City in 2019 to pursue master degree at Pratt Institute, and then I got introduced to Sook Nyu Lee Kim, the founder and the president, and then I loved and I agreed with the mission and the vision of the AHL, and then she mentioned that she has planned to move to a new location, and I thought it was very good challenge and opportunity for me to expand more work. Yeah, that's how it begins, and it has been 4 years already.
Okay, all right. So, Eizabeth, tell us a little bit about the breadth of temporary public art in New York City, because it's quite diverse, right?
Yeah, it's very diverse. A lot of people think public art is just for professional artists. It's not necessarily. We work with plenty of, established artists. We work with emerging artists, community groups, arts organizations, arts institutions, and museums. Artists that are just starting out, just out of college. Some artists who are switching a career into public art or who have worked in other media before. And also not everything we're doing is sculpture as well.
Okay.
Our program is pretty varied. We do, monumental sculpture, of course. but we also do smaller sculptural works, murals, fence installations, which is a great way for artists who work in two-dimensional art to show their work in a public format. And we also have plenty of fences in parks.
Yes.
And we found that they're a great way to activate the park, have a high impact, but maybe less intimidating to some than building a large sculpture and thinking about all the things that go along with that.
Okay. In fact, you brought some images
Yes.
with us, and I think we're going to start to go through some of those images with you, so that way we can see, the type of work. So we're going to do the first image, and the first image is up. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that one?
Great. So this is a piece from 2020 by an artist named Danielle Frazier. It's called Big Bird. It was in Highland Park in Brooklyn where the artist lived, but it looks small probably on the screen, but it was a 6-foot aluminum cutout of a parrot that was hand-painted in sign enamel and installed on a 20-foot pole.
Wow. No, I like the name
Yeah.
of the piece because you think of Sesame Street.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it, but
Yeah.
I got you. I
It's
understand.
a big bird.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a little bell on it, which was a reference to, I guess, entertainment or toys that people usually have for their pet birds, but you could hear the bell in the wind.
Okay.
So,
it had a sound effect to it.
Exactly. So it was this fun, kind of lighthearted project, and the fact that it happened in 2020 during the pandemic, the artist was able to make it happen, and it was, I think, a lot of people spent a lot of time in their local parks during the pandemic, so I imagine it brought a smile to a lot of people's faces.
I would think so, too, because you're also dealing with a phrase that's very iconic to America.
Yeah.
Big Bird. And so, naturally you think of childhood, and so that puts a smile on people's faces. What about the next work?
So the next work is by T.J. Muhammad and Beam Center Project Fellows. It's called Baobab Tree of Life. It is actually on view right now in Van Cortlandt Park through April.
Okay.
And it is based on a baobab tree, which is a succulent tree that provides food, medication, and shelter for the surrounding communities in Africa. The artist himself is from Ghana.
Okay.
So it's a reference to his journey here as well, and feelings of community, and it has a seating element in it, so it's a gathering, intended to also be a gathering place. But it includes Adinkra symbols as well as African fabric designs in the mosaic on the floor. And it's actually in dialogue with a burial ground in Van Cortlandt Park that's not far from there.
Really?
And
There's a burial ground in Van Cortlandt?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an enslaved person's burial ground.
Wow.
So the artist actually, before he installed the artwork, went and made an offering and asked the ancestors for their permission to have the piece there. So it was very meaningful. And he also worked with an organization called Beam Center.
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
So they do great work, and there were a number of fellows in their program that learned skills while they were building it, and also helped put this together. So it was a real community effort.
Okay. Now you have another piece that you're showing. It looks like it's on the waterfront.
Yeah, so this is Lena Montoya's "We Are Beautiful" on the Stapleton Esplanade in Staten Island on the North Shore. That was actually just installed a couple months ago.
Okay.
And it's made of almost 5,000 multicolored butterflies.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a translucent plastic that they're printed on, or I guess they're not printed on it. They're cut out.
Oh, okay, cut out.
Yeah.
Not 3D printed.
No.
Okay.
And she worked with a lot of, I mean, you can imagine you'd need a lot of help hanging that many pieces on a fence near the waterfront.
Okay.
But yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it has an interesting, in the picture you'll see it has an interesting reflection on the ground. You can see the rainbow colors of the butterflies there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now you have two more pieces. Another one that looks very interesting. It has a vintage look to it.
Yeah, this is Sean Desiree's Beam Ensemble from 2021, which was in Crotona Park in the Bronx. And it's essentially an outdoor orchestra.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate saying this like over
Yeah.
and over, like really, but I'm shocked. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting you to say that.
Yeah, if you look at, it's kind of got four corners to it, and they're actually musical instruments, and it was designed this way to establish a connection with the buried history of African American composers. So it's to invite people to come and interact with it, play these instruments, and interact with the piece directly.
Okay. And then the last piece you have, which I like as well.
Yeah, this was another recent exhibition in Thomas Paine Park, downtown in Manhattan, by an artist named Jaime Miranda Bambarin. It's called Seeds 13 Moons, and he's a Peruvian artist. And there were 13 of these carved wood orbs that are made out of wood that he unearthed from these ancient trees in Peru, and carved them to create these forms that were installed in the park. Kind of looking at reuse and the lifespan of a tree or of ourselves, and kind of creating this very zen moment in a park.
Okay. And Jiyoung, with your organization, you're helping a lot of Korean artists kind of establish themselves. And how many have you helped over the years? How long has your organization been around?
So it has been 20 years. It marks 20 years anniversary of this year. And we have supported Korean artists, mostly emerging artists actually, over 150 artists.
Wow, that's very impressive too,
And
over the years.
Yeah.
And what's like the range of the works? 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional?
From from very various medias,
Okay.
such as performance, sound, media art, paintings, and sculptures. And I see that many film or movie artists using different materials for it is called interdisciplinary art.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I see many applicants from that area too these days.
Okay. How do you feel when you present all of these works by these artists? Because a lot of people are not familiar with the nuance of Japanese, Chinese, Korean art. So when you're presenting these Korean art, it's very nuanced. What is it that you want people to understand when they see Korean artists?
Actually, there's also one funny, interesting episode while I'm working at the gallery in Harlem. A stranger, of course, all the visitors are strangers. Visitor came in and he asked me, "Why you are here? Why are you here? What is this? Are you Japanese, Chinese?" And I say, "Korean." "Okay, but then still, why you are here?" And then we had a very interesting conversation and discussion over why we are here and what it means to display, exhibit the Korean art. And
Now we want to hear, what was your answer?
and we are here to welcome you and explore the Korean art together, the diasporic aesthetics and the theme of Korea and history and Korean immigrants' art and also Korean American art. Yeah, it can be anything.
Okay. All right, because a lot of people are not familiar with Asian art, both ancient as well as contemporary. So this is the reason why I'm asking. And the reason I asked both of you ladies to come here is because next year in Harlem, God willing, we're going to have a large-scale outdoor sculpture exhibition in West Harlem. And we're doing it in 3 historic parks, Morningside, St. Nicholas, and Jackie Robinson Park. And we hope to have this blend of different artists who will be participating, approved by the city of New York. And I think it's important for people to understand the process because it's not a simple process, right, Eizabeth?
Yeah. And we do our best, I think, to try and demystify that process. But essentially, anytime you're putting an artwork in a public space, especially a space like a park, there's a lot of considerations to take into account.
Okay.
The first and foremost being safety.
Yes.
Safety, durability, thinking about not just nature interacting with your artwork, wind, rain, falling limbs, etc. But how might the public interact with the artwork as well? So we work closely with our exhibitors to receive the proposal, review it, call out anything that might be a point of concern regarding safety, durability, site suitability, etc. And then we help shepherd it through the process within parks and getting approvals. So we're there with, I think I like to say, with artists every step of the way, bringing it through the process, getting approvals, and then doing site visits, community board presentations, paperwork, which is
the hard part.
Yeah, the hard part.
The hard and boring part.
And it is the less exciting part for sure, is the paperwork. But it is part of the process. But yeah, I'd like to think, we're part of a city agency, but we also like working with artists, and we like seeing, arts professionals and organizers of exhibitions like yourself have success with their proposals and see these visions come to life in a park.
In fact, also, it's about partnerships, because Jiyoung invited me to curate their spring show, Space Uptown. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Space Uptown? And I think we have a video that we're going to show shortly, too. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, we moved to Harlem from Chelsea. So following the foundation's move to Harlem after a decades of operating in Chelsea, and we wanted to do something with the community. We wanted to invite the community and collaborate with the community. And then Savona came to our gallery, and we discussed how we work together. And then that's how we started the Space Uptown project together. And I loved the way we collaborate together, inviting 2 Korean artists and 2 other artists from Washington Heights and Harlem, and also based on the open call.
Yes.
And why don't you also introduce a little bit more about the theme?
I think we're about ready to show that short sizzle reel. And I loved that exhibition. It was a small one, but it was quite beautiful. I love that video. It was a great show, wasn't it, Jiyoung?
Yeah, absolutely it was.
In a tight space, we were able to get a lot done.
Yes, from sculptures and paintings. Yeah, it was really beautiful, and it was my honor to witness the moment that people from different background and share the communal space and collaborate together, and that can be the exhibition. Yeah, it was amazing opportunity.
And we had a lot of visitors there that came to the space, correct?
Yeah, and also really, I'm so proud of the fact that the exhibition was supported by the local restaurant, Mana restaurants. It was funded by the yeah the restaurant and the community members. Yeah.
But what I thought was really great was the fact that New York City, being this great metropolis with so many different people, so many different cultures, we were able to come together and showcase that. That to me is what makes New York City great. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think we find that a lot in our program, in the Art in the Parks program, is the art brings people together.
Mm-hmm. And I miss how people used to on the subways talk in all different languages. I know everyone's looking at their phones, but I miss that because to sit back and to hear the various languages, it's like being a part of the United Nations. But I guess we're doing it using these devices when we share videos and still images. And what has been your experience since you've moved uptown, Jiyoung, to your new Harlem space? How has that impacted your organization?
So every day, our neighbors. Sometimes I heard over that one person said, "Oh, there's a gallery lady walking by." So I'm like, I'm a new gallery lady in our new neighborhood, and meaning that people now recognize me and also
Good.
our foundation and organizations. Also, thanks to you, Sabona, you connected us with so many wonderful people in the new neighborhood, and we want to continue this collaborative effort
Hmm.
in art exhibition and programming.
So hopefully next year when we do Harlem Sculpture Gardens, we'll be able to not just place sculpture, but layer it with some sound art and some dance, and then using technology to offer that sort of immersive experience. I'm noticing that there's an increase with immersive experiences with public art. Would you agree with that, Eizabeth?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're also seeing more artists using augmented reality and sound pieces, extra content that is integral to their artwork that you can access virtually,
Mm-hmm.
which I think adds to the immersive
Mm-hmm.
experience of some public art.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
good. And do you feel, both of you can answer this question, do you feel that there has been like an improvement when it comes to the arts with ordinary New Yorkers? Because for a long time, everyday New Yorkers felt intimidated by the arts. Oh, that's for the wealthy. That's not for us. And I'm starting to sense that because public art is becoming so accessible that people are starting to feel like, okay, I can deal with this. I can comment on this.
Yeah, we hear from a lot of people, one, that they're sad when artwork, temporary public art, leaves their park,
Hmm.
and two, we hear we want more. Or
Okay.
people reaching out like, well, how do we get some public art, in our neighborhood? So I do think that by and large, people are embracing it more than ever. And I
Hmm.
think, I don't know if that is also because of the pandemic that we all feel more drawn to each other and drawn to public spaces.
Okay.
But it's been great to see.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
What about you, Jiyoung? Do you feel that there's a difference with some of the artists that you're interacting with, that they too wish to connect more with the public?
Yeah, that's why. I'm currently working on the next exhibition. We never had a workshop or at programming during the exhibition. That's why we will do walk-in free art workshop from next month. So
Okay.
anyone, whoever wants to join the workshop can just come in the gallery and make their own jewelry
Okay.
with the theme of the inspired by the theme of the art, and also the Harlem um, as a organization committee for Harlem Sculpture Garden is also part of our effort for the
Hmm.
public art and
Hmm.
of bringing the art together to the garden.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you ladies so much for being a part of this segment with us. And we will alert you when the show goes live in Manhattan and Brooklyn. But I just want to thank you so much for participating and giving your perspective and insight. And I also like to thank our team. Today we have Juan Sanchez as our producer in charge, Devon handling camera, and we hope to bring more episodes to the public. So thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.